right, welcome to I guess is it still the Corona cast? Are we over it at this point?
The post-corona, still in
All right.
corona.
Post-apocalyptic cast. I'm Brandon.
I'm well.
And yeah, so we have to do a follow-up on a previous cast that we did before regarding none other than Nintendo and Mario.
Yeah, so we did a podcast back in April, which in corona time was about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So 5 years ago, we talked about rumors coming out regarding 3D remasters of some of the old Mario games, a port of 3D World, and a Paper Mario. And since then, all that stuff has happened, or at least has been announced.
Yeah, so I was actually getting up for work and I was getting everything ready. And since now we're able to work digitally, I was just kind of waiting to get everything ready. I was a little early, which is shocking, but I was just going to watch something on YouTube really quickly. And I noticed somebody was streaming and they said, oh, and like what the description said in their little, below their thumbnail was that they're going to watch the Mario 35th anniversary direct and possibly see the release of the Mario 3D All-Stars. And I was like, oh. So I started watching along, and lo and behold, that's what we got. So I immediately texted you and said they actually did it, because I definitely didn't have any faith that it was coming. Like,
Yeah.
I like after this summer with all the little niche directs that they'd come out with, like I was convinced, I was like, oh, they clearly have nothing, so they needed to appease us with these little things. But I didn't actually suspect that they would do something like this. I actually thought it was complete rumor at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a nice surprise. Like, I'm glad that I lost complete faith, because it's still not completely what I wanted, but because I didn't expect anything, I'm so happy that I got this.
It was the best thing to wake up to, because I had taken off from work for Labor Day weekend, and I was going to sleep in. I felt 2 text messages come up, and I was like, hey, it's probably something else. And then right when I looked at my phone, all I see is it happened, and then a link to the 35th anniversary direct, which was, I watched it right away, so it was definitely the best thing to wake up to. Yeah, because the week before that, they had one of their partner directs, and I don't really want to shit all over the partner direct. It has its place. It's really just, if you're into these very niche games, it's fine. But after a very disappointing direct and just a bunch of months of really not having any announcements, and Nintendo just kind of shadow dropping random games, like that's how they announced Paper Mario and the Origami King. That's how they announced Pikmin 3. Just randomly on Twitter putting up trailers to the games. It was nice that they did a direct on a rumor that's now been active for like 6 months. And that's probably before we get into the Mario stuff, the first thing I'd want to bring up is the Nintendo Directs for this year and how they've been off.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they've all been lacking. Like, none of them have been particularly long, which I'm fine with. Like, I'm fine with them being short and sweet. I'd say even just like the Smash dedicated ones have been a little long-winded. Like, I think each character one has been over 20 minutes long, which is a little obnoxious when you think about this 35th anniversary direct was like 16 minutes. And that's shorter than a Smash character direct, which is kind of funny.
One DLC character.
Exactly. So, like Nintendo has not really had anything exciting. And as much as I love Smash Brothers, like that was one of their longer directs that they had earlier. And like that, I guess that was more in the spring, right? When they released Min Min, or
yeah, when they did the ARMS, that was like
May or June, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and like as much as I love Smash Brothers, that's still kind of a niche thing to do a 25-minute direct on,
especially for an ARMS character.
Yeah,
like the franchise Nintendo tried to sell to people,
and it's an enjoyable character. I will say this: like I was pleasantly surprised with how different the character plays in the game. So like that was really nice. That was a nice surprise. But again, I'm one type of gamer, especially like a system like the Switch, because I like I know somebody who has a son that who's I think like 10 or 11, and they play Smash Brothers kind of, but like I was playing it with them and they didn't even have all the characters, like not like the launch characters, let alone the DLC characters. So, but like I think a lot of people play Fortnite on Switch. So that's a really niche thing, and I think they've released some things with Fortnite. I've never really paid attention to it,
Not really,
so I can't really say specifically what they've released. But I think there's been some stuff. I always see Fortnite as a featured game in the eShop, so I imagine like there's
so popular.
Yeah, like I think anything that's being released for Xbox and PlayStation is on the Switch as well. So, but I mean the Switch online capabilities are kind of garbage, but I mean it's portable. So maybe a lot of the little kids have it. Like again, I saw somebody with a son who has it, so maybe people are enjoying it. But again, like it's not like they're releasing huge.
They're not.
Things like
this entire year has been defined by Animal Crossing and ports. But the thing is, though, Animal Crossing has been such a huge hit for Nintendo. They released, I think, quarterly figures a couple months ago, and in the span of a few months, it became the second best-selling Switch game of all time.
Is like behind Zelda?
It's right behind Mario Kart 8.
Oh, Kart 8. Oh,
and it's probably going to surpass it, too. And it's a fun game. Like, I haven't played it much since it came out, but I understand why people like it. And in regards to the Nintendo Directs, I understand that the coronavirus has really shook things up for a lot of companies, especially Nintendo. Mm-hmm. So I understand that things have probably gotten delayed. Things have been, really just moved around. But even before coronavirus, though, it felt like a lot of their presentations lately have been directed at more specific game franchises. Like the beginning of the year, they did like a Pokemon dedicated one. They did an Animal Crossing dedicated one. They did one for Smash. They had one direct in March, which is a mini, which is weird because it was like 40 minutes. But that essentially covered things that they were already going to release and then a lot of third-party stuff. And since then, as I mentioned before, they just kind of threw Paper Mario and Pikmin onto Twitter. Yeah. And then they've been doing these like 10-minute partner directs because it just really felt like up until this Mario announcement that Nintendo had nothing coming for the rest of the year.
And like, honestly, if you kind of think about it, like all this stuff is just repurposed material. So
yeah, for the most part,
they kind of don't have anything coming
not at all.
Unless they announce something where, I don't know, like some sort of side-scrolling Metroid is just launched. Like it'd be nice if even like again it would be repurposed if they just remastered like Super
Fusion.
Metroid or something.
Yeah.
So it's still like, while this is a really awesome thing that they gave us, and it's something everyone has been asking for such a long time, it's still like not anything new. It's one of those, where has this been? Like, you don't see, we're not sitting there pulling teeth trying to get Xbox or PlayStation to release older games on their system,
but they do it.
Yeah, they do it. Like,
they've remade or at least remastered so many of their games.
Yeah, like they remastered, like even like, you didn't enjoy it that much, but they remastered like Final Fantasy VII, like such a classic game. Like Mario 64 is a classic game, whether or not like it holds up. Like everyone has such nostalgia with that game, so it's like I was so surprised that it took them this long to be like, oh, okay.
But it's a little. I mean, even with Final Fantasy VII too, like more so than being a remake, it's almost an entirely new game.
Yeah, it like the gameplay is like the way the battles, like gameplay, fighting wise, is done.
It's similar to Resident Evil
combat. That's what that's
2
called.
and 3. Like those remakes feel like new games. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of reused stuff in regards to how the game progresses, but it's an almost entirely different game. And Mario 64 is so iconic. So to get into what they announced in the presentation, I think the biggest thing, and the thing we should start off with, is Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. We should start off with Super Mario 3D All Stars.
Yeah.
So I want to preference everything I say beforehand that at the end of the day, I'm excited this is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the rumors also said that they were always going to be remasters. So these games being remakes and any speculation above that is exactly that. It's just overhyped speculation for what it could be.
Yeah.
So this was never promised. So it would be dumb to get upset over something that was never promised and never really even said, because I feel like if they were remakes, the rumors would have said so.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm happy with what we got, but we got, it feels like, the bare minimum, and you feel disappointed by what could have been.
Yeah. Yeah, because it really would have been nice to get like just a completely overhauled 64, just to have it have that nice polish that even you can even see it just from 64 to Sunshine, how different they look. Even though they updated the graphics to be more HD to handle that type of capability, you can still see how different it is.
So blocky
And different. You can see like how Mario's torso is two different polygons. Like just, but I mean, again, like it looks fine. Like I'm gonna play it and enjoy it regardless.
Oh yeah.
But it's still just like, imagine if they had just completely redone that. How amazing that would look. Imagine if it had that same Final Fantasy 7 polish or the Resident Evil polish that they did. Like they wouldn't have even had to change the gameplay that much just to have it look graphically up to industry standards. Like that would have been really cool.
Yeah, to me, like, you know, Nintendo has remade some of their games before. They remade Link's Awakening last year, which graphically is totally different from, you know, granted it's a Game Boy version of the game, but it's graphically entirely different. And it's also the fact that, as we mentioned on the last podcast, Nintendo has remade Mario 64 before for a system that was the worst system they could have remade it for.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think either of us had a DS, but I do know the DS had a D-pad, which is not, it's not the best way to play Mario 64. And also, I think to control the camera, you had to use the touch screen on the bottom, which also seems more annoying than anything else. So you did remake the game. It has better graphics than the 64 one. It has more playable characters.
Yeah, and I mentioned this to you because you said that to me earlier, and I think we discussed that on the previous podcast. But like, I was even saying how if they have that, they could have honestly just released that. I feel like not enough people know about that, where they could have just re-released that, and the modern consumer who's not obsessed with YouTube, reviewers or people going into the extra details behind what games video game companies are making, they could have released it and be like, look, we did this, and people would have been like, oh my god, that's so amazing. They
would
did
have
this.
loved it.
They added all these characters to the 64 one, and while there would have been people like, well, actually this was released already, it would have done the game justice, because one, you would have been able to control the camera the way you wanted to, and you would have had a joystick instead of a D-pad, and then all these new playable characters, rather than going on top of the castle and talking to Yoshi and maybe getting an extra jump, you get Yoshi as a playable character, and you get these other playable characters. So it's a shame that they didn't capitalize, especially if you're going to reuse stuff that you already had. You already had a better game version of that, just on a terrible console.
Well, I guess I wouldn't say the DS is a terrible console.
Well, for that particular game,
for Mario 64.
for that particular, like, it seems like they designed it for that console, but it didn't even work out for that.
No,
for that particular console. So it's like,
I mean, I realistically, I knew that if they were gonna do this, it was gonna be just Mario 64. I didn't think that they were gonna incorporate the DS one in any way.
Yeah.
And because we watched a couple other videos where people were hoping that they might add new content to it. I didn't think that was ever going to happen either. I thought, for me, the best case scenario would have been that they would have given it a graphical update and that they would have maybe re-recorded the music. But a part of me feels like the way Nintendo thinks about it is that there's a certain charm to the way 64 looks. You know, the fact that it was really the first 3D platformer that really took off. It's a pretty iconic game. So for them, maybe they feel like changing the graphics and updating the music takes away from the charm of playing the game.
Yeah.
We mentioned last time, like when I looked on the website, they said that it has updated controls for the Joy-Cons, but that to me really just says that you can maybe remap the buttons. I feel like the camera's still going to be the same in that game. And look, the camera does not make the game unplayable.
Yeah.
By no means does it ruin the game, but it's dated, and that's my biggest worry with. Really, it feels like they're releasing a lot of these games at a higher resolution, but apart from the resolution, they're being released as is.
Mm-hmm.
And 64 is a great game, but it is a dated one.
Yeah.
And with Sunshine, it's the same thing. Like, I'm excited for it. It definitely looks better than 64, but also has kind of a wonky camera, too.
Yeah.
So that's my concern, is that, you know, even if they want to keep the graphic style intact, that's fine. But a few, like, quality of life improvements would help the game.
Yeah, like, it would have been nice to... And, like, you never know. They might release some DLC. Like, we even mentioned how much of a shame it is that they didn't include Galaxy 2.
Nope.
And, like, they're kind of... It was weird because it's, like, if you watch the whole direct, they're acting like the game never happened. Like,
yeah.
Like, even, like, going through the entire Mario catalog history, they skipped over Galaxy 2, and it's kind of frustrating because my biggest thing with that is Galaxy 1 didn't have Yoshi. And neither did 64 for that matter.
No.
So, like, it was frustrating because, like, I felt like I'd missed out on that game until you let me borrow it.
Yeah. And it's great.
Yeah, and then, like, when you get to use Yoshi, and it adds a different dynamic to the game, and, like, that's what I really liked about playing as Luigi. Like, that was my favorite. That was the best part about replaying the game, the first game, because you got to play as Luigi, and he controlled different. He felt a little different. His weight was different. He didn't have the same type of agility. He would slide, but he could jump farther and higher. But, yeah, that was always something I felt was missing, so it was a shame that that's not included in the pack. And I am hoping that maybe they're giving that game a little special thing. Like, maybe they're going to completely remaster Galaxy 2, where it's like they're going to add something to it and make it a little bit, you know, better or something. I don't know. But, I mean, it's an amazing game in its own right, so I don't know what they would need to do to it.
I kind of feel like they didn't include it in that sizzle reel just because it might make people mad to see, like, so you acknowledge the game, but it's not in the 3D All-Stars collection. Because the other thing that's strange about the All-Stars collection to me, too, is that it's a limited release.
Pretty much everything that they announced said it was a limited release, and something that I heard somebody comment on is I think they said it's the end of their fiscal period, their third quarter, something like that. So, like, they're gonna have, like, some type of investor announcement the next day, or I don't know.
Well,
I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, but that just, it seems weird that it's limited because that's something you would think they would want to constantly sell.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like it's so iconic with their system. Like, it's like I imagine, like, was the Master Chief Collection limited for Xbox?
No.
They still you can still buy it, right? So I don't understand why they would do that with, like, it's Mario.
Are they? You remember how back in, like, the 90s Disney had their vault? They would make, like, a movie available for, like, 6 months and then be like, and then you can't buy it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Is Nintendo going to vault these Mario games?
Well, I mean, that's what they did when they came out with those classic systems.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe that's why, I don't know, maybe that's really frustrating.
The thing is, though, like, with those classic systems, most of those games are available on the Switch now.
Yeah.
I mean, with the exception of a couple third-party games, but those third-party games are available in, like, compilations on the Switch, like Mega Man, Castlevania, Contra. You can get in those collections, and you don't have to pay a yearly fee to own them. So that's my thinking on it. Is one of two things. One is that maybe they'll let the games be available individually at a slightly higher price, which would suck, but at least they'd be available.
That's what I'm hoping for.
And that way they could put Galaxy 2 out.
Maybe they want to sell it for more.
Yeah. Because the other thing I was thinking is that if Nintendo ever puts N64 games on their online service, it would be weird not to include Mario 64 in that, but it'd also be doubly weird to be like, we're also selling this game as part of a $60 collection.
Mm.
I mean, my hope with Galaxy 2 is that, I mean, we'll get into 3D World in a little bit, but 3D World is being released with new content, which is perfect in the way that it feels like Nintendo will probably never make another 3D Mario game like 3D Land or 3D World. But adding this additional content to it makes it seem like kind of a goodbye to that.
Yeah.
So maybe with Galaxy, the thinking can be if they re-released it and added new content to it, being that we're not going to make a Galaxy 3.
That'd be kind of crazy. I don't even...
Like, just add new content to Galaxy 2 as a way of, like, I don't know if we're ever going to revisit the Galaxy concept, but as a goodbye to it, you know, here's some additional content.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Or maybe they'll just never release Galaxy 2 at all.
Yeah, it just seems so weird to me that they just didn't acknowledge it. And Disney's just so cloak and dagger, not Disney, Nintendo is just so cloak and dagger with everything that they do.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating, but like sometimes they nail the reveal. And like they kind of nailed it this time.
They did.
Like, so it was refreshing to see that they had something planned.
I'm still happy that these games are coming.
Yeah.
You know, these are still 3 great games, and it looks like with Galaxy, you can use your Joy-Cons in the way that you use the Wiimote in the first game. Because I was thinking, you know, you had a pointer in the first game where you had to point at the screen to collect the star bits and stuff like that. And I was thinking, like, how are they going to do that here? Are they going to map it to an analog stick? Because that might be a little awkward. So it's good that I'm sure that if you play it portably, you'll have to do that. But if you're playing it docked, it's nice that they.
I actually heard portably you might have to use the touchscreen.
Ugh.
Yeah. So I'm definitely just
it'd
gonna
be better than
Joy-Con it up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a game I would probably just play on a TV screen anyway.
Yeah, like it's exciting that the games are coming back at the end of the day. Like there was some other stuff that seemed pretty interesting. Like I am kind of excited for the online multiplayer for 3D World.
Yeah, we should probably just get into 3D World now.
Yeah. So yeah, like that's like one of the big things for me. Like I know is there additional like story content or just like additional
fully like that the whole Bowser's Fury part of the game, like
Bowser's Fury.
Is it Fury or
Fury?
I'm
just because I just see them because they're always in those their cat outfits. It's like the that's the thing that's always on the cover. But
yeah, 3D World is such an underrated game to me. I really like that game a lot. Like.
I think it'd be really fun with friends. I don't think I could play it by myself.
It to me, like when I think about the multiplayer Mario, so you have the new Super Mario Brothers games. Playing those in multiplayer, like if you just want to mess around, it's fun as kind of a chaotic party game. But actually beating the game with 4 players is almost impossible. It's frustrating. It's annoying. And the multiplayer in 3D World works a lot better. Not that it doesn't have its own issues, but overall it's fun and it feels like you could still beat the game with it. I just remember when that game came out, you know, the Wii U didn't have a great launch. And I think that for the first true HD Mario game, because I know the Wii U launched with New Super Mario Bros. U, but that's a side-scroller.
Yeah.
I think people were hoping for something along the lines of Odyssey to launch the Wii U. So I think when people saw that 3D World was like a sequel to the 3DS game, everyone just looked at it like, oh. Which is a shame because on its own terms, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. The only things I would say against it, it's not as ambitious as something like Galaxy or Odyssey or Sunshine, which is it's fine though because it still works. My biggest complaints with the game originally, one is that it's a little easy. It's not a terribly difficult game, and it's also not very long. You could beat that game in a day. I think the thing I appreciate about something like Galaxy Sunshine and 64 is that while I'm sure there are people who can beat that game in a day, it feels like there's more content there. Like it feels like a game you can play over the course of a couple of weeks, as opposed to something you could just breeze through in a couple of days. But the thing I loved about 3D World and with 3D Land as well was that once you beat the game, you unlocked an entirely new campaign full of remixed levels and some new levels thrown in as well. So it was kind of cool to beat the game and then say, here's a whole other game.
That's cool.
And in terms of, because, the Switch has ported over a bunch of Wii U games, which I'm glad they did because a lot of those games are fun. But I think the biggest issue with a lot of those ports is that they don't really offer much in the way of new content. So it's like if you played these games on the Wii U, there's really not much of a reason to revisit them, which is fine because the Wii U didn't sell well and most of these people didn't play these games anyway. So for them to put 3D World out and it looks like it's going to have an entirely new campaign or something is very cool because I don't really know what to make of it because it looks like a big giant open world kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know if I'm gonna how much of that portion I would play.
If it's worthwhile, like I think the biggest thing is that we really don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see gameplay of the 3D World additional story content. Like Bowser looks different, right?
Bowser
from whatever they showed, or maybe I'm just thinking maybe it was what somebody had in their thumbnail.
I mean, I'm just glad that they're not just adding Funky Kong to it and calling it a day. And just being like that's it. Like, I don't know. I'm excited to replay 3D World. I haven't played it in a while. I mean, it's a fun game. The game obviously operates more like a 2D Mario than something like Galaxy or 64. But it has a bunch of fun power-ups in it. The cat suit's a lot of fun to use. And it's got all of, like the fireball, the star, the flower, the star.
Like does it have an ice ball? Or is that a Mario Brothers? I'm thinking Mario Brothers.
I don't think it has a freezing one. It has the raccoon outfit, though.
That's cool.
It's got a lot of stuff. It's a lot of fun. And I'm excited to replay it. The only disappointment with that one for me is that one is a ways off. Like it's coming out in February, and I'm fine with that. Like if they need more time to perfect it and add a significant campaign to it, then by all means, like I'll wait till February. And then the one thing you mentioned before that I want to talk about is the fact that they didn't even bring this up in the direct, and I don't know why they didn't. Is that the game is going to have online co-op?
Yeah. Like I think that's really cool. Like that gives it a certain bit of uniqueness to me. Like it could be like it's hit or miss. Like it could be executed really well, or it could be executed horribly. Like for whatever reason. Well, I mean I understand it, but yeah, people really like that Fall Guys game right now.
Yeah, I've been playing it.
Yeah, you've been playing it with some of our friends, so. Like, yeah, you can have something that seems just like a simple concept and have it be a really fun time. Like, I wish that, like, there was like a new Mario Kart game that really updated the formula and, like changed it so it's like a completely different game. And then, like, to the point where, battles are really popular again, where it's, like, it's really and like maybe it's like really strategic. Like there's it's really easy to pick up, but hard to master. Where there's a really high skill ceiling again, and then karts back. Like I would enjoy like a really really good, interesting, intricate Mario Kart battles like system. Like
do they do that with the? Because I haven't played Mario Kart online.
I haven't played Mario Kart since 64. Like I have not played it, so I don't know what it's like. I think something cool could be like. If one of the items is like a grappling hook and you could like grab onto the back of people, or you know how like in certain levels you can like jump off of like well, like in 64, you could do like you jump off a Rainbow Road and
Yeah.
do a shortcut. Like if you use a grappling hook, that can help you do that, or you can swing and do stuff and like
Really change it up and not just keep using the same power ups.
yeah, like add new things, and like the grappling hook can be like the hook shot from like Zelda. Like you can bring it in things from like classic like just Nintendo series. So like
that makes sense too because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has Link.
Yeah.
It has Animal Crossing and Splatoon characters. I mean, I have 8 Deluxe and like it's a good game. It's a lot of fun. I really have not played it online at all.
Yeah.
So I can't really comment on how good the online is for it. I think I might have. I definitely didn't do battle mode.
There is a Mario Kart 9, right? Is there?
I think that there was a rumored one. I mean, something in this direct that we could talk about real quick that I thought was an announcement for Mario Kart 9 was the Mario Kart Live home circuit.
Yeah, that looked really, really fun.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
It's not like I'm gonna get it, but if I was a child, I would definitely enjoy that. That legitimately looked cool. Like
I would be all over that as a kid.
Yeah,
and I'd imagine any parent that saw that was like, "This is gonna be the bane of my existence."
Yeah.
Like,
well, not. I don't even know because then they could kind of keep themselves entertained and they could set up all kinds of little courses outside, maybe.
Yeah, because I feel like, what if you have a really small house?
yeah, that's for like that's only indoor if you're like if you got that indoor like type of situation where you have a lot of free space. But yeah, I imagine most people would do that outside. You go to the park and do it there.
Nintendo really knows how to do toys to life.
Yeah,
it's a cool concept. Like it's an RC car, but you can also make your own courses and then play it on your Switch. And it looks like there's like little virtual players and there's items.
Like Nintendo really just wants to sell toys.
Yeah,
that's what they want.
They're not bad at it either.
They want to sell merchandise. They want to sell that merch.
I feel like for them, because we really don't have much else announced for the year, I feel like they're probably going to go pretty strong on like this thing being a big holiday thing for kids, and also like they have like those Lego Mario sets. So I feel like
with
in
the
lieu of maybe having a big
eyes.
game, it's like we'll just sell Mario toys this holiday, and that'll push it through. It's a cool concept.
Well, they gotta make up for COVID. So like that's probably why they're pushing all the. That's why I was so surprised that they had so few announcements over the summer, and like it's interesting that the Mario announcement came over the summer, like at so late in the summer. Imagine if they had kind of just said this. Like it was nice that it was a rumor, it was likely leaked by them anyway, but like it would have been so nice as if they were saying, "Hey, we're working on a Mario 3D All Stars collections," and we're sitting there just like all wondering, "Oh, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna include?" And then they just announce it, and then it's like, cool. Like at least if we knew it was coming. Like imagine because it's coming in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
September 18th, which is that's lovely. Like that's amazing.
It's awesome. Like for so many people who thought that they were going to position this as like a holiday Christmas release.
Yeah, like but maybe that's what it is. Maybe they really need cash now.
Yeah.
And like they're like, no, we need to have this release immediately so we can kind of keep ourselves going, keep our.
A holiday release too might have just like, I feel like if it were a holiday release, people would then be disappointed they weren't straight up remakes.
And maybe they legitimately didn't know how well it would be received because they're not remakes. So maybe they were like, we need to test the waters to see, like, because if they banked it all on a holiday release and it failed, it would have crushed. Like,
I mean, at the end of the day, it's Mario. Like, I think people, even if people are disappointed with the fact that they're not remakes, they still love these games and they still want to play them on the Switch. I think the thing that's weird with Nintendo right now is that they don't have much announced, especially with Sony and Microsoft still going ahead with releasing their consoles in the fall. But a part of me feels like they don't really have to, because the Switch has been doing very well, especially during COVID. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, I mean, in my opinion, I was more excited about this than the stuff that Sony and Microsoft are talking about, because they really haven't said much about their consoles. Like, they obviously talked about games that are in development for them, but these consoles are like 2 months away from launch.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be expensive.
Yeah.
And neither of them, it seems like at launch, are going to have strong launch lineups. So while I'm sure that people that are huge Sony and Microsoft fans will buy it,
and streamers,
yeah, for a more casual consumer, it's like, why am I going to drop $500 on a brand new giant console for my living room that doesn't have anything to play on it, with the exception of games I already own with a console that will play them?
Yeah, like the fact that all of the next gen games coming out for Series X are coming out for Xbox One is a big deal. I wonder how, like, I know that PlayStation has a lot of exclusives, which I think is going to help it a lot. But like, I wonder how many games are coming out for PS5 that are just going to get completely destroyed because Xbox One is going to have it.
I mean, I feel like with PS5, they have a bunch of games in development. They're not coming out till 2021 or 2022 because they can get delayed beyond that.
Yeah.
It feels like at launch, all they have is Miles Morales, which it looks great. I am excited to play it. I am not going to spend $500 to play it right now. Like, it, to me, like, you know, if Xbox had Halo Infinite coming out for it at launch, that's a strong enough game that's like, okay, like maybe. But at the same time, it's not exclusive to Series X, and I feel like Microsoft almost feels like they're not really even pushing the Series X. They're pushing more the Games Pass, which would make sense because you could play that on PC too. Like, it feels like they're making the transition from One to Series X more gradual, whereas it feels like PlayStation is making. I mean, obviously, there's going to be games.
I think it's out of like. I don't think it's by choice though.
No,
I think it's because they have to be. Like, we cannot rush this because we'll go under and we'll need to just completely give up on gaming. Like,
it almost with Xbox definitely,
because they did, like, the Xbox One did not do well. Like, the Xbox One was not what you would call a successful system. Like, I have a bad taste in my mouth owning it. Like, like, which is unfortunate because like there are things like I enjoy, like when I play games. It's not like I'm sitting there with a bad attitude, but like if I had a PlayStation, I could have all those games that I'm playing on my Xbox One plus all those games that I want to play on PlayStation.
Has the better first party content, because I feel like with Xbox, I mean, the Halo and Gears games they put out for those, or at very least Gears 4 and Halo 5, were seen as big disappointments.
Yeah.
And PS4 has had Bloodborne, it's had God of War, it's had Horizon Zero Dawn, it had Marvel Spider-Man. It's had so many great first-party exclusives. Ghost of Tsushima. And it feels like with the PS5 right now, I think they made the wise decision of announcing sequels to games. And like, we could talk about how some companies are too reliant on franchises, but I feel like when you're launching a new system, you kind of want something familiar to play on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I applaud the fact that Xbox is developing a lot of stuff and they're focusing on new IPs, but we also don't know how they're going to turn out. Whereas with Sony, it's like a new Spider-Man game with Miles Morales, a character everyone loves.
We already know that the gameplay is enjoyable, so
we're working on Resident Evil 8.
Yeah.
I mean, that one might be on Xbox too, though, but it was announced during a PlayStation conference, and then we've got Horizon Zero Dawn coming. You know, we're working on sequels to all of our big games, and they're going to be out within the launch window of the system, as opposed to Xbox, where it was going to launch with Halo Infinite and got delayed, which, like, I'm not complaining. If they need more time to do it, you need more time to do it. But I feel like that's a huge blow to not have that game launching with this. And
then, hey, maybe it'll come out and it'll be something crazy because, I mean, not to get too off topic, we do need to get back to, but they said it's going to be an open world type of narrative. So that's a bold concept. It could be delivered really well if done right. Or it could just be another open world game. So if they do it right, it could be really good. So if they take the time, maybe they realize they needed to take more time and do it justice. And I hope it's successful. Like, I want Xbox, I want all the systems to do well.
Yeah.
So like that way, maybe one day if I have the means, I can have all of them and enjoy them equally for what they're good for.
Because it feels like at this point, they're all, at the very least, like Nintendo has done this for a long time, and Xbox is trying to do its own thing now too. So it might get to a point where, like, as opposed to just directly competing with another system, just kind of go into your own niche.
Yeah, I do like that Nintendo is very much leaned into its own thing.
Yeah.
And then because of that, it's finding the success that like Xbox 360 had, kind of, with like, because they're just repurposing they're remastering old Xbox 360 games and old PlayStation 3 games and
Yeah.
putting it on their console. So it's like we don't have the capability of these current gen consoles, but we have the capability of those classic consoles that you guys loved. So they have that, plus they have, like, if they do come out with that first party content along with even their own older first party content, they could really start doing well and being their own thing. And like, I think eventually Xbox and PlayStation will just ignore them completely. Like, I think they're kind of doing that now, but
I mean, they're kind of chummy with Microsoft now at this point. Like in a sense, like Microsoft has published games onto the Switch.
Like, I hope that relationship gets so good to the point where not PlayStation, Nintendo can just start making rare games again and like really start getting cool ideas from that. Like,
I feel like, because nice. There is no better company than Nintendo for first-party games. They definitely know how to develop first-party games for their system and do it well. I think what would help them is to have more big third-party developers try to develop some games exclusive to that system.
Yeah,
that works within the parameters of the power of the Switch. I mean, I think that this isn't getting... It's a little off-topic from Mario, but I think it's something worth talking about just because Nintendo has relied so heavily on ports and remakes and remixes of stuff this year that it's worth mentioning, because most of the Mario stuff that was announced here, like we mentioned, 3D All-Stars is remasters of existing games. Like 3D World will have some new content, but it's a port of a Wii U game. And then we had Mario 35, which looks like Tetris 99.
Yeah,
it is Tetris 99, which is a fun game.
It's an interesting idea.
But once again, it's also saying, according to the Direct, that they're going to take it off on March 31st. So it's coming out October 1st, and then it'll be playable for like 6 months, and then they're going to take it away, which seems weird.
I'm thinking it's probably just going to be sold for a higher price, maybe. Is it not full price, or?
It's free.
Oh.
Yeah,
so maybe that's what it is.
Game, but I guess it's weird to take the time to develop a game like this and then just take it away after 6 months, unless, I mean, some games like that, like a game like Fortnite, for example, I know has like seasons. So maybe they'll take that concept to do it to other Mario or Nintendo games. But it feels weird to me, because it looks like fun. If it's anything like Tetris 99, it'll be a fun time. I mean, Tetris 99 is fun. My one complaint about it, though, is that the game could explain itself a little better in regards to how you attack other people. Like, I get it now, but when I first played it, it felt confusing as to how you attacked the other players you were playing. But a Battle Royale Mario it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It looks like a cool concept for a game. I'm not like, shitting my pants waiting to play it, but like I think it's definitely something that I'll try.
Yeah, like all in all, like I did really enjoy pretty much everything they announced. Like
Super Mario All-Stars for the Super Nintendo Online.
Yeah.
I wanted that so badly, and we got it, because I feel like that to me is the best way to play Mario 2 and 3, because I feel like the NES games now look kind of ugly.
Yeah, like, and they don't have that same pop that the updated versions have. So
yeah,
like they definitely, like Nintendo definitely made us. They had me worried. Like, again, I said I lost all faith. I was sitting there thinking that they're not gonna have anything really big, nothing that I'm gonna want to spend my money on, and then literally they dropped something, and I was like, this might be the only thing I've pre-ordered besides like Smash Brothers stuff.
Yeah,
was the 3D All-Star Pack, which is I can't wait to play these games. Like I legitimately am excited to play them with the updated like resolution, so they look fresher and crisper, and because like even when you look at like people playing it online, like it's kind of hard to see what's happening. And I was even watching somebody play DK64, which is another thing I hope that they remaster someday. Or
it was on the Wii U.
Like, now that they've opened Pandora's box of N64,
yeah,
I want Mario, or not Mario. I want Star Fox, and then I want that game online.
That would be really cool.
That would be
because
amazing.
they're doing that with the Super Nintendo and Nintendo games.
Yeah.
So I would love for them to do an N64 online. So I'm hoping that maybe the limited nature of something like 3D All Stars means that in the first half of next year they might put N64 games online, so you could play Star Fox, the original Smash Brothers, online, and, like Mario Party and all that stuff.
I don't think they realize how much they could. Oh my god, I don't know how they would map the controls for the original Smash Brothers.
That would be weird.
That'd be very strange.
I just feel like because the Wii U had the Virtual Console and they had Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and 64, but they also had Game Boy Advance and DS, and I actually want them to bring Game Boy Advance and DS back because I never got the opportunity to play most of those games.
Yeah.
So they'd all be new to me. Like, I'd love to play Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission and Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. I feel like I love the NES, SNES, and N64, but I've also played most of those games. Like, I'm excited to play them again, but I've experienced them a couple times. Whereas with GBA and DS, like, I didn't really have... I had the GBA, but really only had 2 games for it.
Rogue Squadron.
GameCube.
Yeah, like all the GameCube games I never played. Like, that was I think that might be the one Nintendo system I never had was GameCube.
And it was the best one.
Yeah, and like so I really want to be able to play all those games, and like you said, like that second Rogue Squadron game came out for that.
It was the reason I bought the GameCube was because of Rogue Squadron 2.
Yeah, like
it's also a game that, like, you know, they've been putting out some Star Wars games on the Switch. Like, they put out Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy and Star Wars Racer, but why not put out Rogue Squadron?
Yeah,
that game is amazing. Like,
that game it felt so good. And it felt so nice to control and and like I mean I did play the Racer because it was like $9 or something. It was really cheap
enough. Yeah,
it was very cheap that I figured I'd try it, and I mean it works well enough, but it's definitely just kind of dull.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's such an old game.
Yeah. Like, I didn't play Jedi Academy. I would like to, but I feel like with Jedi Outcast, I had that. I loved that game because I had it for the GameCube. The first person stuff is almost unplayable right now. Like, mostly it's because the controls are weird for it. Maybe they fixed it since then, but those games are dated. So I guess that's why I was concerned with there not being big improvements to something like 64 and Sunshine, because there are dated mechanics in those. Like, Galaxy is fine.
Yeah.
Galaxy will be just fine, but 64 and Sunshine have dated mechanics to it. But once again, though, it doesn't make the game unplayable. Still excited to play it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I remember initially I was also thinking I was a little disappointed that they didn't announce a new Mario game, but the more I think about it now, it would have easily overshadowed 3D All Stars and 3D World. So it's probably nice to give those games
a little bit of room to breathe, and like and again, like here we are talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. Like even Facebook, like there were people just everywhere just saying, "Take my money."
Yeah.
Because it's like that's what we were saying. We mentioned it before, where it was. All you had to do was release 64 and people were going to be all over it. Like, that's really the standout. It's not so much Galaxy or Sunshine. It's 64 that is the showcase game in that little 3-pack right there.
But even then, though, like, Sunshine has not been released since the GameCube.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, they're excited for that one just because most people didn't get the opportunity to play it.
I've never played Sunshine. Yeah. Like, I'm definitely excited to play that, but I know
But 64 is the one everyone knows.
Pure, like it's just it's 90s, man. Like that's what it is, and like that's why I really do think like if they start re-releasing a lot of these 64 games, like again, like people will buy them. People will. Like, if they release some kind of rare pack where they do DK64, Banjo-Kazooie, and Conquer, oh my god.
Well, I mean, right now, like, they only have Donkey Kong Country on the SNES online. Like, why not put the second and third one on there, too?
Yeah.
Like, the second one is better than the first one.
Like, the music.
Yeah. I guess that's what I wanted to get into now is what happens from here, because I feel like when we did this podcast back in April, all these games were speculation. Like Paper Mario has already released. It's been out for a while now.
And the 3D All-Stars is going to release in like a week and a half.
Yeah, it's coming really soon. And then otherwise, for this year, like 3D World is in February. Other than that, for this year, they have that Mario 35 coming out October 1st, but that's not really like a real full-fledged game. And they have Pikmin coming out at the end of the month. So what do they do for November and December, or January for that matter?
Yeah.
I feel like the window is really closing for them to announce anything new for the holidays. I honestly think at this point, realistically, they're going to rely on the strength of Animal Crossing and Mario to get them through this. Like, I really think that that's gonna be their ticket this holiday season, is emphasizing Animal Crossing and Mario.
Hey, you never know, because like they have a lot of the things that they've done, like as ridiculous as this sounds, like has become very like instantly memeable. You know what I mean? So and like that's just like a works marketing wise. So like Animal Crossing like came out at the same time as like that Doom game. So like that was a nice little meme that like there was a lot of Isabelle with like the Doom guy.
Yeah.
So like, that was a nice little memeable thing that they had going. And then even with this announcement, like this is like a really big deal. You just see everybody kind of really excited about it, just to revisit Sunshine and 64 again. Like just, and the cool thing about this is I think that not as many people played Galaxy that are going to be fans of Sunshine. Like there's probably a lot of people that haven't played video games since the GameCube or 64 that are going to discover Galaxy for the first time, and that's what I'm excited about as well. Is how good people are going to realize Galaxy is.
Because Galaxy is such a great game.
Yeah,
the second one's better. But
give me Yoshi.
It is a really fun game, and what I'm personally hoping for, because I think the one thing I want to mention real quick is now the big rumor going around with Nintendo is that they're going to release an upgraded model of the Switch next year. And someone from Forbes wrote a forecast where they assumed that the system would launch probably around the time the original Switch launched, so possibly spring of next year, and that Nintendo might just be stockpiling games to kind of come out of the gate strong with that. Which it would make sense. Like, I feel like
when you say an updated version of the Switch, do you mean just like so it can handle like 4K maybe?
I think that's what they were mentioning.
Is it like it's not going to be a new system? Is it just going to be like an Xbox One S basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be an improved Switch. Like, I don't know, because it's weird, because I know that Nintendo did the new 3DS at one point, and that was an improved 3DS that had like faster loading times and stuff like that. It also had a few exclusive games for it that would only work on the new 3DS, but I feel like doing something like that gets choppy because you can't really put out a big Nintendo release and then say it's just for this system. But what if you put out third-party games as exclusive to it, because people don't really buy Nintendo systems for third-party games. So if you were able to port some PS4, Xbox One era games over, but it's only going to work on this new system, I feel like that works, because the Nintendo casual crowd can still play those games. There's no reason for them, because Nintendo games are not really known for graphical fidelity anyway. They all look nice, but they're not the most cutting edge thing from a graphics perspective. But I think doing third party might work better. And I mean, maybe because they want to put a strong push for that, they're really just kind of gonna ride out the rest of this year. And also COVID kind of wiped a lot of stuff out.
You know what would make that would justify a purchase of the updated Switch console? This is one thing, but it's a big thing. Fix online.
Yeah,
they fix online to make it up to like it doesn't even need to be Xbox, like the Xbox 360 standards.
Yeah,
like get me there on the or not even like I honestly I thought that the Wii U was fine. But obviously people had issues with it. Like clearly there's things that people know that are a lot more tech savvy than me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would want them to just update it to industry standards somewhat.
Yeah.
And so
nice.
like you could talk to your friends through your system, or you could talk to your friends through your controller or anything. And just make it so it's more consistent, so you're not constantly dropping or lagging and stuff like that. So like that would be a really big reason to justify me being like, you know what, I'm going to update my Switch because I want to get the better online.
Yeah.
And then that would feed into everything else. And then I'm like, oh yeah, and you want to give me like more modern gen games as well? I'm happy to have that as well. So like that would be really nice, and to update any kind of graphical stuff. But yeah, online, big deal for me.
I was gonna say, like, my biggest fear with that online co-op for 3D World is the fact that the Nintendo Online service is so terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, Smash is a very dodgy experience using it.
And they say that they're doing things to improve it. And honestly, maybe this new system is that thing.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, Mario Maker 2 is another one where like you can play that one cooperatively online, but the online for Mario Maker 2 is notoriously bad. I tried it once or twice, and I confirmed that it's choppy. It kicks you out pretty randomly, and it also lags a lot. So hopefully Nintendo can fix their online problems. I'm hoping as one last game that could come out this year, which I think would be perfect because it'd be a fun game that isn't necessarily a AAA title for Nintendo, is a 2D Metroid.
Yeah.
Just put out a 2D, because that was one of the rumors we talked about. There was one rumor that said Paper Mario and a 2D Metroid. Now, that could all be bullshit because, I feel like Paper Mario was kind of announced by other people. It might have just been a shot in the dark, too, thinking that, this is a franchise Nintendo puts on all their consoles at this point. Might have just been a lucky guess, but a 2D Metroid to close out the year. You're holding over the Metroid fans. It's not something that you need to really market too much just because it's going to appeal to a more niche audience of Nintendo fan. But it'd be the perfect thing to close this year out.
And you've been doing niche things for all summer, so you might as well like go out with a niche bang. Like that's like Metroid is very much, in terms of games, like a cult classic. Yeah. So it's like if you close out with that, like that's something that people are going to really, really love. And like that's, again, like I talked about being very memeable. Like that's one of those things where it's like where you lose all hope for Nintendo and then they announce Metroid and you have complete faith in them again. Yeah. Like that's very easily a title that people would be so excited about. It would make a lot of noise. Like it would drown, especially like if it's a holiday release. Yeah, it would kind of drown out some of the noise about the Series X and PS5. Like you would kind of control the conversation again because you're giving people what they want essentially.
Putting out a new game.
Yeah,
and it's one that doesn't need a whole pomp and circumstance preceding it. I feel like it'd be a small enough game. I mean, when they put the Samus Returns on the 3DS, like it wasn't even part of their E3 presentation. They just kind of announced it afterwards, and everyone loved it because it's like, look, we're getting Metroid again. And I feel like Metroid Prime 4 at this point is probably like 2 years off. Yeah, realistically.
But it is also the fact that in terms of like a Metroidvania game, how far those types of games have come, like with like Hollow Knight and Shovel Knight and like even like that game Shadow Complex that came out for I think Xbox 360. Like that game had that made me want to play. I'm like, I want to play like a regular Metroid game because this seems like a really fun, like interesting way to play a game. So you combine that with like just Nintendo's ability to be creative with their own concepts. So like I really wish that they would kind of lean into their creators to create a modern day Metroidvania game, but have it be Super Metroid. Like that would be awesome.
To me, like every Nintendo franchise has its 3D continuation. Yeah. But that 2D side never really dies. I mean, Mario side scrollers are still a viable property. A top-down Zelda game still viable. Donkey Kong went from being a 3D game back to a 2D game. And then with Metroid, it's the same thing. They did Metroid Prime, but then on the handheld system,
show all these people how it's done. Like it's called Metroidvania. Like show people how to make a Metroidvania game.
a 2D Metroid would be a big hit because you're right. Like Metroidvania games in the indie scene are the hugest thing right now. I feel like it's like Metroidvania games, and I thought of something else. It'll come back to me. But really, Metroidvania games as indie titles have become a huge success. People love Metroid, and if they look, even if what they ended up doing was a remake of Fusion or Zero Mission or Super Metroid,
yeah, but like just with modern, like it would look so good, and it would feel so good to just play a game like that again, and like you would kill people with the nostalgia, like just the way that people reacted to Streets of Rage 4, like because like the modern graphics made it look so nice and clean, and it's like
it looked cool.
Like I think we both bought it.
Yeah,
like because it's, and I don't even know that we're playing it that much, but we bought it. Like
my thing with Streets of Rage 4 is that it's a lot of fun, but it's a Streets of Rage game.
Yeah.
It really has not changed much since the Genesis generation, which is
the only thing they really needed to, like the thing that would have improved it for me is if like they included all those characters from the older games in it, but then they didn't update the moves to the modern game.
Well,
so they're missing moves.
It was cool that they added all those characters, but that being said, they're all sprites, which it's cool. But what if you had just drawn all these characters in the new modern style? I would have appreciated a little more. I think at the end of the day, like I'm starting to get a little sick of the over reliance on nostalgia for certain things. Where it's like I'm happy for a Streets of Rage game, but I would have rather them take it in a new direction. Like it could still be a beat 'em up, but why does it have to be so faithful to what those Sega Genesis games are? Because I saw that Microsoft recently put out that Battletoads reboot, and the reviews for it weren't great. And for a lot of people, they said like it's kind of derivative. It's just more or less the same thing. It's a kind of obscure but beloved franchise for hardcore gamers that they brought back, and it's more or less the same thing, except now it looks a little cartoonier.
Not everything can be Doom.
Yeah, I feel, but even then, like Doom sticks to its core gameplay, but it also does so much new and different. Like it sticks to the, I feel like when you look at it, sticks to the ideals of what the game is, but it does so many new things with it. When you look at something like Breath of the Wild or that Doom reboot, or even that Final Fantasy VII game I didn't like that much, like it's still in essence that same thing, but it does so many new and exciting things with it. As opposed to just saying like, you know, here's a beat 'em up game. Like I think about that Scott Pilgrim beat 'em up game for the PS3. It was great. And on top of that, like it felt like its own different thing, apart from just being like it's just another Street Fighter game with newer graphics. Or not Street Fighter, Streets of Rage.
Yeah, like and like I think that's what keeps the Mario franchise alive so consistently is how willing they are to keep like adding things to like a familiar concept.
Yeah.
But when you think, because it all started with 64 with like the 3D platformer, and then went to Sunshine, then to Galaxy, and just like with those three games, they're so vastly different from each other.
They are.
And I think I really do think that's one of the like those like it, in a nutshell, the reason why they didn't include Galaxy 2 is they wanted to show just how far they'd come with the three different console generations.
How diverse those.
Because Galaxy is very
are.
Similar. Obviously, Galaxy 2 is very similar to Galaxy 1.
Oh yeah.
Because it's a sequel. But yeah, like it adds Yoshi and a few other like really cool gameplay elements. But
like you'll never get another Sunshine game ever again.
Yeah.
They're never gonna make a Sunshine 2. But it's cool that the original one even exists because it controls differently than any other 3D Mario game.
And to be honest, Odyssey is most similar to probably 64 with how it's done.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of like a cool return to form, but still like again,
it
does its own thing. So like I think that's what's kept it alive for so long, and I hope they continue to release 64 games for the Switch. I think that they would do very well, and they might even like make people who aren't constant gamers gravitate towards the Switch and possibly buy it Like maybe the more casual gamer will buy a Switch now because they're releasing. It's the only place where you can play a 64 game.
Because those Nintendo Classic consoles sold like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Part of it might have been because they made such a limited supply, but on the other hand, there are people who have not gamed in, possibly 10 to 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But they had an NES or an SNES growing up. They see this thing like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I play all these games I used to love. We've said this 10 million times throughout different podcasts. Nintendo is sitting on a gold mine of content.
They just have all the they rule the classic games, like the silver age of gaming, where like arcade gaming was still kind of a big thing, and there was only like one or two consoles. Like Nintendo is very much that console that has all those things that people grew up on, and I think even like younger kids now would like some of the games. Like I think they would be able to handle the 64 games, especially if they remaster some of them. They don't even have to remaster all of them. Just like pick ones that are really, really big that people would really, really appreciate and remaster those. And
they did it for the 3DS. They did both Ocarina, Majora. They did Star Fox 64 as well. And it looks great. Like that's the thing that kind of upsets me a little bit is that both Ocarina and Majora's Mask are 64 games that they remade for the 3DS.
Yeah.
And it looks better than the N64 version. Like, it's not, a PlayStation 4 level remake of those games, but the actual character models and environments look far better. It's day and night from the N64 version.
Yeah.
So they just won't do that with the Mario games. But yeah, I agree. I really hope that they put more 64 games out. I hope that they just put out more of their older library onto the system. The Switch has been so successful as a system that seemingly collects all these games from different game consoles and puts them onto this portable device. Like console games you could play on the go. That is the Switch's... That's its gimmick.
Yeah, that's
the
your
thing
bread
that's
and butter.
Selling so many copies of this thing is that I feel like it appeals to people who aren't necessarily gamers because it's a fun little device. Like you could play Nintendo games that, can be as in-depth or as casual as you want them to be. And you can take it on the go and you won't look like... I feel like you look at something like Google Stadia where it's like, you could play it on your phone, but you need a controller. Like, I'm going to look like an idiot if I'm out somewhere with like a phone screen and a game controller, like in a Starbucks.
At least the Switch looks like a tablet. Like,
yeah.
And I hope they release more N64 games. I hope they release more GameCube games. Like I hope they go nuts with the GameCube games. Like even if they want to stay away from some of the 64 games, I would understand. But GameCube is there for the taking, especially if all the games are going to look as good as Sunshine does. Like that seems like a really good deal to me. And I think that is the one thing we didn't talk about is I do believe that 64 won't be widescreen.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's going to have like the bars.
I think they said that Sunshine and Galaxy will be widescreen at 1080p and well, I feel like with 64, though, that game was not designed to be widescreen, but something I heard, though, was that, most developers have been... There's a Mario 64 PC project, which has nicer character models, and also has the game, and I'm assuming 1080p in widescreen, and also running at 60 FPS, because they didn't mention... And look, for most Nintendo people, like... I don't know if that matters too much to them. Like, I feel like FPS and, like, frame rate stuff is definitely more for hardcore gamers.
Yeah.
But it would still be nice, but I know that was the thing a lot of people were complaining about is 64 is non-widescreen.
Yeah, like, I'll have to see how it looks at the end of the day. Like,
there's actually online, there was a couple people took footage from the trailer for 3D All-Stars and compared it to... Mario 64 gameplay running on a standard N64 virtual console. It definitely is definitely a lot crisper.
Yeah, like I saw that. I think I saw something like that too. Yeah. It definitely looked a lot better for like
not fuzzy.
Galaxy kind of looked virtually the same.
Yeah, because Galaxy was already a nice looking game.
Like I don't know that they needed to do anything to begin with. But yeah, all in all, like very pleased with the Direct. Like I think maybe they'll have some more things before the end of the year so that there's something more to look forward to. But for now, like I'll be playing those Mario games when they come out. I already pre-ordered them.
Yep. That'll hold me over. Like I feel like we were talking about the limited nature of 3D All Stars. I don't think that's going to be a problem for either one of us.
Yeah, no.
My biggest hope for the rest of the year though is that maybe hopefully Nintendo will bring back the concept of a full-fledged Nintendo Direct again.
Yeah.
That'd be so nice to have something at the end of the year just being like, here's the stuff we're working on in 2021.
It'd be nice to have a big AAA first-party Nintendo game. Just one. I don't need, like, crazy stuff. Like, whether it's a new Mario game, a new Zelda game, or a new Metroid. I'll even take a Star Fox, even though I don't even have faith that that would be good.
No.
It at least gives me faith that you're working on ideas.
Or giving other Nintendo IPs a shot. I mean, I love Mario, but there's no lack of Mario games on the Switch. They even highlighted that in the presentation. Like, look at this screen full of Mario games, and Zelda's the same thing. I love Zelda, but the Switch is not lacking for Zelda right now.
Yeah.
Even though I would love for them to do those Wii U remakes of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, I'd like for them to port over, but I think that there's definitely Nintendo franchises that get that kind of love and attention on every console iteration. Then you have series like Metroid and Star Fox and F-Zero and Donkey Kong that it feels like a real crapshoot.
Yeah.
If you're going to get a new game in those franchises on each console. I mean, F-Zero has been gone for years, but with the
I would
other
really
ones,
like a good Star Fox game.
I would love one because Zero was such a bad game.
Yeah. Like, all you got to do is they could just port or just since essentially that's what Zero was a remaster of 64.
Except with worse controls.
Just a worse version of the game. But yeah, I think come up with an original Star Wars idea or Star Fox idea, and you can make a good game. Like I would love like I mentioned this before, a Star Fox prequel game. Where it's like maybe it's a younger Star Fox and his father's still alive, and you go through that story about how his father disappears. Like that would be a really cool thing to do.
Also, just make it a real aerial combat game. Like at this point, like on-rail shooters can still be fun, but to me, like Star Fox is capable of more than that.
Yeah,
I feel like they should just drift away from remaking the same Star Fox game over again, and.
Well, to be fair, 64 was just a remake of the one they came out with for NES. So
for the Super Nintendo, and then Star Fox Zero was basically a remake of Star Fox 64.
Yeah, and it's it's clear that they don't really have any ideas for it, but it's all there. Like it's.
How did they not though? Like,
I don't know.
Such a creative company. How could they not? How can they play it so safe with some of their franchises?
I don't know. Especially with 64 when it delved deeper into like some of just like the little bits and pieces of the personalities of the characters, like there is something there, like, and everybody constantly quotes that 64 game, so like there are people that have like a bit of identity associated with those characters that like if you just were faithful to honestly just the 64 models, you could have a decently entertaining game. And that I think that's honestly the one Nintendo like first party game that could really have a good story. Like an amazing story if they really thought about it, like because it's hard to do Zelda justice because it's just like Zelda gets kidnapped, Link's got to save her. It's really hard to do that justice. And like with Mario, it's Princess gets captured, Mario's got to save her. With Star Fox, it's like something's going to destroy the galaxy, and there's for some reason everyone's not on our side. We're actually fighting other living creatures. Like you have something there. Like
to me, it's like give it to a third-party company.
Yeah, well, because what was the DLC that had Star Fox in that one fighter
Ubisoft
pilot
game?
Yeah, I forget what
I forget the name of it, but it was some kind of like flight simulator.
Yeah, and it seemed like it looked pretty good. Like it looked like it controlled interestingly enough, and like people said that they liked it. So
well, that's what disappoints me so much, though, is that because I would imagine because Star Fox Zero came out on the Wii U at the end of its life cycle when Nintendo had all but abandoned the Wii U. I'm sure it didn't sell many copies, so Nintendo will see that as like a negative against it. And then I think that Starlink thing flopped too. So then Nintendo might look at that and be like, well, I guess people just don't like games like this. Like, no, like it looks like that Starlight game was kind of boring and that the Starbucks thing was the best part about it.
Yeah.
So to me, like, you know, even if they have to start small, even if they have to play it safe and make an on-rail shooter, at least make a different one.
Yeah.
At least don't make it so that you're forced to use the gamepad. I think that's really all I could ask for with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that's all I'm hoping for is they continue to release games from previous consoles, and then hopefully we just get like one announcement or two for like first party games that are like they're big hitters, like one of their big hitters.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's like, you know, best case scenario Metroid, Star Fox, but you know, you still would be happy with a Zelda or a Mario.
Yeah.
Like we already know of a Zelda game in development. Like that's the one thing we do know is that Breath of the Wild 2 is probably the one thing that's most complete of all four of their big, like their big four.
And they are working on a Metroid game.
Yeah.
Like we definitely know it. They've been working on it now for like years. They restarted it.
Yeah. And like I'm sure we'll get another Pokemon game because that's one of their bigger.
Well, that's the thing actually I was thinking about is that I think that with that DLC they're doing, there's supposed to be two of them. So I think the other one is supposed to come out this year. But at the same time,
they'll always make Pokemon games. I guess like they're selling. I've never met somebody who's playing Pokemon.
Yeah,
but
we don't play it.
Somebody's playing it. So that which is fine. Which is fine. I'm all for it. Like it's not for me, but it's for somebody. So I'm glad they get to keep making those games. But yeah, I really like a good Star Fox. I'd really like a Metroid, whether side scrolling, first person, third person, or otherwise. It'd be nice to get something. But other than that, you have anything else you want to talk about?
I think we've covered it for now. So maybe we'll do a follow-up after we've played these games to give our thoughts on them.
Yeah, and
Nintendo announces something else.
We'll see how well they hold up, and maybe they'll announce something cool, and we could talk about that. But until then, I'm Brandon.
I'm Will.
Have a good one.